Welcome, stranger. Time for another video. A customer sent me a camera, a X-700, and told me that he was getting yellow streaks on his film. So I knew immediately that it's probably the foam around the film door, which happens to all these old classic cameras. So the camera's on my desk. The camera was made in '81. I started repairing cameras in '78, so I'd only been repairing cameras about 3 years before this camera came out. I knew it real well. We saw a lot of them in our shop. Anyway, I plan to show you the foam seals before I replace them, and show you the condition, and then show you the foam seals after I replace them, and along the way give you a little bit of history about the camera. Let's get started. Okay, here it is. At the time of the 1981, this was the flagship of Minolta. This was their best model. It had all the bells and whistles, or is it whistles and bells? Anyway, it did everything. There were some other models that they made at this time also, but this was their premium model. But from a point of a camera repairman, it wasn't their best model. I saw a lot of these come into my shop that were broken, and I had to work on them. The IC located right about here would go out on the camera, and I'd have to replace them. And it looks like I left the camera on. Shame on me. Let's go down here to this one. See there where it says on? Last time I was working on it, I should have put that on off, but I had it on, and it is charged, and it's fired. Okay, let's turn that back off. Okay, I'm gonna get a probe here. Got the program mode, which was good enough for anybody really. Aperture mode, if they knew a little bit about photography and wanted to select aperture. And then manual mode, which I didn't much care for. The aperture and program mode worked good enough. And what else do we have over here? Counter. Up here we had the flash shoe. You'll notice that these are kind of brass colored. That's because they were rusted, and I removed the rust, some of it, and all the chrome came off. And you see it's a serial number 1537214. Serial number of these cameras always fascinated me. Look on this side, and really enjoyed seeing the customer had the pass sticker on there. Back in '81, I owned one of these cameras. I owned nearly all of the cameras at one time or another. I removed my stickers on my new cameras, but some people religiously kept them on there and never removed them, and they were careful not to remove them. Why, I don't know. I still don't even know what these stickers, if it really meant that they checked the camera and it passed, or whether this was just a advertisement feature? I don't know. And then ASA was set right there, 100 ASA. This right here was to override the exposure. Say you had it in program and you wanted to add a stop or take away a stop, you did that here. Made it very simple. You didn't have to mess with anything else. You could just leave it in auto. And if you're in a situation where it was a little bit dark, you could add some light. Or if it was a little bit too bright, like in snow, you could reduce it. Anyway, what else? Did I get that right? On snow, do you add a stop or take away a stop? I've forgotten. And let's see, front here. X-700. Pull that down. Nice big letters. Minolta. Maybe we should be over in here in this camera here. And then we've got your f-stop follower. had your lens. The camera, if I remember correctly, had to be an f/16. That's what this was for program or aperture. I've forgotten. I haven't worked on one of these in years. I get a lot of cameras in, but not many of these. Down here in the bottom, we got our battery holder. I noticed the camera has a lot of what we call brassing here, here, here. Takes a lot of rubbing to rub that paint off and show that much brass here. Why do those always stick up? They always do. Brassing here. This corner. Camera is carried around a lot. And the funny thing is that the camera is not made of brass. It's made of plastic. And this was the first camera I saw them do this on. It is a plastic cover. Well, actually, the whole camera nearly is plastic. But in this top cover and bottom cover, and then they put a brass, laminated it with brass. How you do that, I don't know. It's thicker than foil, but it is, let's call it a very thick brass foil. And they put it on top, and I'm not sure why they did it. I think possibly because the cameras that I've seen are all plastic. They get scratched up real easy, but this one had paint on brass, and so it doesn't. As you can see up here at the top, there's no scratches. This was plastic. It would be all scratched up here and over here. So I guess it was a good idea. But, you know, why they didn't use steel or brass on the top cover to begin with? I suppose maybe to save weight or to save money. Who knows? Okay, let's go inside. This is where the problem is anyway. Before we start, let's look at what? Let's hit this over here. You can see the pressure plate. It looks like it has scratches on it. I'll clean that up later, but those scratches may not come out. That may be, well, I suppose I could do it right now on screen. Get some cotton ball here and put a little bit of solvent on there and rub that, and let's see if that'll come out or not. It did. That's good. That's good. Scratches on the pressure plate mean that a lot of film has been shot through the camera, and it tells you the age of a camera. That's one of the first things I look at. This one was just dirty, and it's still dirty. I'll need to clean it a little bit more. Okay. Let's, it was sent in because of seals, and there's your seals, and as you can see, they are gummy, and they're falling apart. And that's the reason the customer was getting yellow streaks on his film, was because of these foam seals are just shot. I need to replace those. And then what about over here? Again, bear with me. Black camera. The Sony's having trouble dealing with it. Same condition here. The seal here at the hinge is always thicker. It's 2mm foam. As you can see, it's just falling apart. That's gross looking, to me anyway. I've seen too much of that. Over the years, the foam seals just deteriorate. I'll have to replace that for sure. All of that. And then, if we can ever get the camera just right, we probably won't, because it's a hard area to see. I'm going to stop the camera here just a second and See if I can help that. Maybe or maybe not. Get back to you. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. I put some black tape on there to cut back on the reflections so we could see down this channel a little bit better. And what we'll do here is we'll get a screwdriver tip here, straight edge, and lift up. And as you can see, the foam, is also just falling apart and will have to be replaced. And this is again why he was getting yellow streaks, is that the light was getting in, especially if you're in bright sunlight, and exposing his film, causing those yellow streaks. Anyway, let's see, what else can we look at here? That's all going to have to be replaced. It's a mess. And one more thing I'd like to show you, and it's going to be hard to do because I cannot see. I'm getting a toothpick and pushing that. It's actually a light shield around the front, pushing it out of the way. And I'm moving my screwdriver in here. And right here is the mirror bumper. On some cameras, it's real easy to get to, but not on this camera. And I'm trying to get my light just right so you can see it. You notice how part of the bumper's gone, and you're just seeing metal underneath. The bumper, when it's covering it, covers all of that. There's no metal showing. And most of the bumper has just fallen off, deteriorated and fallen off in little pieces. And I hope it's not down on the camera in some critical point. But that mirror bumper, all that needs to be scraped off, and all of it needs to be, a new piece of foam put in there. And it cushions the mirror when it comes up to the top. If you didn't have that, when you fired your camera, the camera would hit the metal, and if you were at a slower shutter speed, it would cause a blur. And it might even break the mirror over time. And that's why that has to be replaced. And that's why it's there. So, what else here? I'm going to lay this down a second here and show you one last thing. First, I'm going to advance the camera just a little bit. Let's see if we can. I tell you, filming this and having to operate things like this. Okay, that's the opening and closing shutter right there behind the mirror. What happens quite often is the foam from the mirror bumper will fall down in this compartment, and it'll work its way into the shutter. The shutter is on rollers on both sides, and the foam, as you saw, is sticky and gummy. It'll fall onto the shutter, and then when the shutter rolls up, it'll roll it right onto the shutter. And that can cause problems. You're counting where it gets. The shutter can carry that foam into the camera on either end. It doesn't always stick to the shutter itself. Sometimes it'll get past the shutter. The shutter will just carry it into the camera, and it'll get in a more critical place and lock the camera up. Carry it onto a mechanism. There's a lot of mechanisms, like here in the, I can't show it to you, but here in the bottom behind this plate, we're going to have trouble seeing it, is some mechanism underneath here. And the foam can be carried down in there. The foam also can go right through that hole and get into the mechanism. But either way, the mirror bumper is bad for, when it starts coming apart, it can really hurt a camera. Get in the rollers, get in the mechanism. Unlike in the back. In the back, it just looks bad and it lets light in. But here it can actually really damage the camera. And then you got to pay a camera repairman to go into it and get the foam out. So that's why you want to remove the mirror bumper and put in a new one. You don't want that loose foam moving around inside your camera. And that's enough here. I'm going on and on and on. Here, get back to this. This camera, I'm going to replace the foam and then come back and show you the new foam, but it won't be nearly as long as the intro. It'll be short. I'll show it to you and then close out the video. Anyway, I'll see you in a little bit. And I am recording. Okay. I thought it would take a couple hours to do this, but it ended up taking all afternoon. Finally got all the foam in. I'm starting with this shot here of the mirror bumper because it was really a hard shot to set up light-wise, getting to show the texture on the foam and to have it in focus. So I put the toothpick in it and set it up on blocks and trying to keep it steady. And you can see the new foam going from left to right all the way across now. It's new foam, imported foam from Japan, just like the foam that was in there. And you can see the screen also is back in. I installed that. So this shot I'll try moving it a little bit and see if I can keep it in focus. Yeah, it's not bad. Okay, let's remove this toothpick. Here you can see the screen that I installed. It was pretty dirty on the top side. Took a lot of cleaning before I put it back in. Okay, that's enough. Let's turn the camera over and look at the foam at the hinge. Okay, let's try the other camera. There we go. Finally got something in focus. Okay, here is the foam I replaced it with. 2mm, the original foam from Japan. And over here, 1mm. Both sides, over here and here. And it has an adhesive on the bottom. So basically you just cut it to the right size and install it. But you can see compared to the foam that was in it, this is resilient. It bounces back. It's not flaking off. It's black instead of yellowish. And it's always nice to get a camera that comes in that has deteriorating foam and replace it and make it look like it was when it was new. And let's see here if we can catch the foam down the channels is okay. I had to put some black tape on here to cover the shiny parts of the camera because the exposure was messed up, and top here, and then move in close to show you the foam in the channels here. It's black on black, so that's always a headache. You can only catch the reflections on the foam so you can see it. But I wanted to show you that the new foam was also put in the channels, and that it's always a pain to do. You've got to go really slow because the foam has an adhesive on the back, and it quite often wants to stick to the walls of the channel, and then it twists. And to get it down on the and only stick on the bottom, you have to move real slowly. Normally putting the foam in the channels takes an hour or more, top and bottom. I don't know if we can see the bottom here. Yeah, there we go. We can see it right there, bottom channel. Okay, that's it. In fact, that's more than it. I always promise short videos, but they're never short. I guess I'm a liar. Anyway, I wanted to show you the foam, deteriorated foam, the condition it is. So if you have a classic SLR, you can kind of check it against the video and see what kind of condition the foam is on your camera. And I also showed you what the new imported foam that the camera came with looks like. And there is a domestic foam which is denser. I didn't show you that, but that people replace it with. It works just as well. They both work just fine. But there is a difference between the foam that the camera came with and the domestic foam that a lot of people put in these cameras. And I'm rambling here again, so anyway, that's it, and I'll see you later.